Hey everyone, Metal Gamer Geek here. Welcome to the channel and to Let's Try This Escape from Duckov. This is a series where I play the first few hours of a game and give you a brief rundown of everything I experienced so you can decide for yourself whether or not the game is for you. But before we begin, if you'd be so kind as to smash the like button, hit subscribe, and make sure that notifications are turned on so you get updates when I post new videos, it would help me out tremendously. But now, let's continue with the episode. If you were like me, and while browsing Steam one day for a new game to play, you saw something where a bunch of ducks were running around, looting and shooting, and then saw the name of the game happen to be Escape from Duckov, you probably thought to yourself, this has to be a meme game, right? It's just gotta be. Well, I wouldn't blame you. I actually almost passed on this game entirely, but then I saw there was a demo and decided to give it a shot. And I was pleasantly surprised to learn that there is a fully fleshed out game underneath it all. It's not just a quick cash in on the Tarkov name. If you're new to the extraction shooter genre, here's a quick rundown. You as the player have a hideout with less than the bare essentials. You go out into the world on raids to gather supplies to either install or upgrade existing stations in your base, as well as to scavenge and possibly upgrade gear and weapons on your persons, all while either avoiding or engaging in fights with NPCs or other players while trying to make your way to an extraction point so you could store all of that precious loot. This formula was perfected by the game Escape from Duckov, which many consider to be the pioneer of the genre, hence why this game has a fun little nod to it with its title. But honestly, while there are going to be similarities in regards to the formula or the gameplay loop that Duckov perfected, there aren't any direct references or anything to Duckov explicitly that I found in my playthrough. Escape from Duckov is a single player only game and doesn't require an internet connection to play, so you don't have to worry about other players camping out extraction points or hackers ruining lobbies just for the fun of it. This is a big departure from most extraction games, as well as a huge selling point for me, because to paraphrase Randall Graves from Clerks, games would be great if it weren't for the other f***ing players. I'm just not as huge a fan of competitive multiplayer games these days as I used to be. At the same time though, because there is no online component to Duckov, there's also no co-op, which is a fair trade in my opinion. Additionally, most looter shooters or extraction games are usually in the first or third person view, and Escape from Duckov uses a top-down view, which really meshes well with the gameplay and makes things feel a bit fresh. This perspective actually reminds me of games like Monaco, What's Yours Is Mine, or Hotline Miami, where you can see structures to figure out what route you want to take, but things like enemies and loot require visibility in your direct line, or in this case, cone of sight, to be seen. The maps for this game are all static, meaning that everything will be in the exact same place for each raid you go on. Well, most everything. Trees, houses, rivers, farmhouses, etc. will always be in the exact same spot, but things like food crates, toolboxes, and other means of storage are randomly placed throughout for each raid and will also contain random loot that fits their theme. What I mean is that food will always be in food crates, metal scraps, and tools will be in the toolbox, ammunition in the ammo pouches, and so on and so forth. The game does a fine job of diversifying loot, which also helps make the game fun, but there can also be times when you're out there in the wild trying to find a very specific material, and the RNG gods have decided that today just is not your day. Your base, as I mentioned earlier, starts out as a huge open space without much of anything really, but as you accept quests from Jeff and salvage materials on your runs, you'll be able to add workbenches, medical stations, vendors for things like weapons and armor, and the almighty teleporter. But I'll get into that last one in a moment. The vendors that you unlock in your base sometimes will provide quests like eliminate X number of enemies, fetch random item and return it to them, and even to defeat things like map bosses, which will not only reward you with currency, items, and experience, but also give you some insight into the lore of this crazy egg-shaped world. I think I forgot to mention earlier that the reason why you're out here doing all these crazy missions and salvage runs is because that your home planet of Duckov experienced some kind of cataclysmic event, forcing most of the population to get the heck off-world. However, you unfortunately missed your flight, and now you have to work towards building your own ship and escape from Duckov. Now, probably the most important structure that you can build in your base is the teleporter. Once you install it, you'll be given missions to activate a beacon in specific maps. Doing this will allow you to use the teleporter to fast travel to the map you've chosen. This is great for the later areas that you unlock, because if you were to try to access them on foot, you would have to make your way through all of the previous zones first, and potentially burn through your resources like food, water, and medical supplies in case you run into enemy mercenaries. But there is a catch here. When you use the teleporter, it'll drop you into a random location each time for the map you've selected, so I would advise you to use this once you've unlocked the later maps, and definitely once you've explored them so you know how to navigate potential threats. Unlocking these other areas usually comes as part of a quest to start exploring a new zone. For me, I received a quest from Jeff to explore the warehouse zone once I had set up the beacon in Ground Zero. This required me to blow up a wall that was preventing me from accessing it otherwise via dynamite. But the neat thing about Duckov is that if you happen to find some dynamite or explosive arrows during one of your raids, you could have blown this wall up at any time and progressed to the new zone. Part of what I like about this game is that it's semi-open with the way that you can complete objectives and explore new areas. The only downside is that if you were to defeat a map boss before getting it as a quest, it does not count towards the quest once you receive it. You'll have to gear up and fight them all over again. One thing that you want to keep an eye on though is the time of day, because once 10 PM or 2200 hours rolls around, the sun will have finished setting and things like killer robots will start patrols. They aren't too much of an issue once you've got yourself some decent gear, but unlike enemy mercenaries that you've encountered up until now, these robots will not drop any ammunition once they've been defeated, so they're kind of a drain on your resources, especially if you were not prepared to be out so late. Another aspect of night runs that makes it slightly more difficult is that your line or cone of sight is significantly reduced, unless you've acquired attachments like flashlights for your weapons or gear that will increase your vision specifically at nighttime. I myself haven't hung out too much once the sun sets in Duckov, so I can't really say whether or not the loot is any better, but given the fact that the spider robots do drop cubes that are not present otherwise, it might be in your best interest to gear up and go on a night raid and explore for yourself. Lastly, when looking at the time of day in the upper left corner of the screen, you'll notice that it says you have X time until the storm arrives. These storms are devastating in the early game, as your health will slowly tick away as you're exposed to whatever this storm is bringing with it. Your best option in the early portions of the game is to sleep through the storm back at your base. They last just 24 hours from when they were set to arrive, so they're pretty easy to avoid. You will eventually find drops though that give you very brief immunity to the storm, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that you'll either be able to purchase or craft better items that can give you longer or maybe even permanent resistance to these storms. Oh, and there is a pretty neat character creator for Duckov, and you can come up with some pretty wild results. I myself tend to take things to the extreme when given the choice, but you can also make a fairly realistic duck if you so choose. But once you start acquiring gear, your appearance changes to reflect what you're wearing, so I wouldn't spend too much time here, as you really don't get to see the fruits of your labor all that much. That about sums up my experience with Escape from Duckov. If you watched the video up until this point and still aren't sure whether or not this game is for you, or if you just skip to the end, here's a brief rundown of my pros and cons. Pros: no internet connection required. I'll never understand why some games require internet connections for single-player games. Thankfully, this is not one of them. The game is single-player only, so you don't have to worry about other people ruining your fun. The gameplay loop is honestly really fun. Raids can be as short or as long as you want, depending on what your playstyle is. There's a ton of content and things to explore and unlock. Cons: the game can be a bit punishing at times, especially when you're just starting out. Things can feel a bit grindy when you're trying to collect materials to level up skill trees. No controller support as of the time of this video. So that's it for this episode of Let's Try This Escape from Duckov. I hope you enjoyed the video and will maybe consider dropping a like and smashing that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments if there is any other games you would like to see covered. And as always, take care, have a good one, and I'll see you soon.